Okay. Let me know when it says file sent.
All right. All right, sent.
Not coming through. Where'd you send it to?
David Cohen 1949 at gmail.com.
Okay. That's correct. Oh, there it is. Okay. Now, I've got to go through a little process here to download these. Tell me which ones. Let me just download all 4 of them. And then I can open whichever one you want me to open first. Hold on. I think I have to wait for that. So let's see. I got 1. I need this one. And then I need this one. And the 4th one. All right. Now, I've got to go to a download page. Sorry, this takes so long. I don't know another way to do it. Oh my goodness. What the heck? No longer getting on. Okay, I guess it gives me the same thing. All right, so I downloaded 4 files. Let me put them right here. Probably an easier way to do this, but I don't know what it is. So. All right, there's the 4 files. Do you have any idea which one? Should we open them in numerical order here?
I mean, that doesn't really matter.
All right, opening the lowest number one, 58. Okay to start there, or you want to start somewhere else?
Yep, it's fine.
Okay, one of the most common problems in algebra is this one. Find the equation of a line that's parallel to another line and passes through this point. So, I'm going to try doing this through this writing. What do we have to do? Starting with the word parallel, what is that going to mean?
Same slope.
Okay, so what's the slope of this line right here?
6.
No?
6 over 1.
6 over what?
1.
No, actually, you know what you need to do is you need to solve it for y. In other words, you definitely do want to put it into y equal mx plus b format, and then you'll know the slope. But you've got to solve it. In other words, what we have right now, how come that doesn't work? What's going on here? In other words, we have get up and it stops working. What the heck? Hold on. Unplug. Now let me try one thing before I try that. Oh God, this was a mistake. This takes forever for it to close out. It does allow me to write on it though. All right. So we got 6x plus 5y equals negative 10. Solve that for y.
Okay, so minus 6x.
So read the second line to me.
5y equals negative 10 minus 6x. And then divide everything by 5, so it'd be y equals negative 2 minus 6 over 5x.
Now put it in y equal mx plus b format.
Negative 6 over 5x minus 2.
So what's the slope of our new equation? That's the equation of the line they gave us. And the only thing we know is we have another line that's got to be parallel to this, which means it's got to have the same slope. So m has to equal minus 6/5. And let's write the equation of the line. Y equal minus 6/5 x plus b. Can you solve that for b?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to put in the 1 point. It says the new line passes through that point. That means I can plug that point in for y or x and y. And then once I do that, I'll solve for b and I'll know what the equation of the new line is. So let's do that. Substitute for y and x. Tell me what to write.
Okay, so wait, I substitute
For y, what's y? Put in this point that they gave you.
Oh, okay, 9.
Okay. Equals?
Negative 6 over 5, negative 10 times negative 10, plus 6.
Plus b.
Or, yeah.
That's b. In other words, we're still trying to solve for b. Okay? And if you distribute, you get plus 12. Plus b. So what is b?
B is negative 3.
Okay. So what's our new equation?
Y equals negative 6 over 5x minus 3.
That's exactly the way you want to do these problems, every one of them. Now, I need to ask you, have you had point-slope format?
Yes, a little bit.
Okay. If you've had point-slope format, there's actually a slightly easier way to do this. And, oh boy, that closed out quickly. Huh. Let me see if I can open it up again. It's the first time I've ever seen it close out that quickly. Good. And I get to start from scratch. Okay. So, let's see. What did we have? We had the first equation was y equal negative 6/5 x minus 10, right? No, minus 2. In other words, once I divided it by 5, it became 2. That equation that you see in blue is the equation, the same thing, 6x plus 5y equals minus 10. It's just simplified and solved for y. Okay? Now, here's why point slope is easier. Because we have a slope, minus 6/5, and we have a point, minus 10 comma 9. So let's talk about point slope format. Do you know what that is? Starts out y minus...
So y, I can't remember it.
Okay, if you're, oh boy. If you're trying to figure out what that is, notice that if I solve for slope, m, I get y minus y sub 1 divided by x minus x sub 1. Looks an awful lot like rise over run. Correct?
Right.
So that's a way to memorize it. In other words, you know this is correct because if you solve for m, you get the differences in the y's divided by the difference in the x's, which is what m is. Okay? Now, the advantage of this format over the first way we did it is I don't have to solve for b. Because all I got to do is put in my point and my slope. So what do I get? I get y. What's my y point?
3 or what?
What's my y point? Here's my point. What's y sub 1?
9.
Okay. Equals, we know what the slope is. What's my x point?
Negative 10.
So that becomes y minus 9 equals negative 6/5 times x plus 10. And believe it or not, that's the final answer. That is the equation of that second line. You do not need to put it into y equal mx plus b format. You can leave it in point slope format. And notice that when we did point slope, we only had one thing to do. Plug in y sub 1, plug in m, and plug in x sub 1, and we had our answer. There was no solving for b. So it's definitely one step shorter. Now, if you took this final answer and solved it for y and distributed the minus 6/5, you get the same answer we got before. So you're going to get ultimately the same answer. It's just that it depends on the directions. If the directions say put your answer in point slope format, then this is the way you want to do it. If the directions say put your answer in slope-intercept format, then you want to do it the first way we did it, where you got to solve for b. You still use the point and you plug it in, but this is a little different. You do everything in one step. You plug in the point, which is x sub 1 comma y sub 1, and you plug in the known slope, which is minus 6/5. All right, let's see if it still calls. Oh, it does. Almost like Microsoft gave a fix to me. That was taking like 45 seconds to close out before, the last time I tried doing it. Okay, so number 12 is the only other one on this page. Is that right? Okay. So on this line, hold on. Move it just a little bit to the right. No, I can just look at it right here, actually. In fact, let me blow it up like this. Okay. So this is the same type question. It gives you the equation of a line, and it tells you that there's another line that's perpendicular to that line, and it goes through this point. So the other equation, what's the slope of the second line if it's perpendicular to this one?
It would be -4/3.
Very good. You got to do two things. Parallel, you just got to find the same slope. But when it's perpendicular, you got to flip it and change its sign. So the slope of the blue line is going to be -4/3. Now, we know the point. Let's go ahead and put that in point slope directly. Do you know whether or not that that's an acceptable answer, or do you have to have your answers in y equal mx plus b format?
I don't know.
Okay. If they've taught you point slope, the format, then it's probably acceptable to use that.
Okay.
These instructions do not say. They don't say. Maybe they do up higher, but this particular problem 12 does not say whether it wants the answer in a particular format or not. So let's do it the easiest way possible, which is put it into point slope. What's the general on point slope? Y minus what?
Y minus y1
Equals
m times x minus x1.
Okay. So that's what we're going to plug everything into. So what's y1?
-3.
And what's m?
-4/3.
And what's x sub 1?
3.
Here's your answer. Well,
Okay.
you might want to simplify it and combine that to y plus 3. But you do not need to move that plus 3 to the other side of the equation and distribute. You just don't need to. This is actually a better answer. Because if you give that as an answer, everybody knows you did point slope format, which is the most efficient way to do it. Why solve for b if you don't need to? Now, what I could do here is I'll go ahead and distribute it. So I get y plus 3 equals -4/3 x plus 4. And now I'll move the 3 over, and I end up with y equals -4/3 x plus 1. And that is in slope-intercept format. So if they did ask you for slope-intercept format, you can just solve what you got when you plugged in point slope. Or you can do it the other way, where you solve for b. It's really half dozen of one, sixth of the other. You should be familiar with both methods and realize that they both give you the same equation of a line. And by that, I mean, hold on. That equation right there is identical to that equation. Just
Okay.
the top one is in point slope format. The bottom one is in slope-intercept format. And you can see the advantage of slope-intercept format. You know immediately how to graph that bottom one. Whereas this one right here, it's the same thing, but it's harder for me to graph because I don't know immediately where to start. All right, let me close this one out and go to the next one. That was 58, so I'm going to open 59. Hopefully this will start with number, I think we just did that one. Must be it. No, we didn't do this one. Huh. So, or is this a difference? Yeah, it is a different 13 and 14. Looks different. Okay, let's do here. Let me open it up so I can write on it. I'm excited that this works because this is the best way for me to write, and it was taking so long to close it out that it was unusable. So, okay, so what's the slope of our perpendicular line going to be? I'm going to write that is like this. The slope of the perpendicular line. Well, first of all, you got to figure out what the slope of that line is. What is that slope?
It'd be negative 5x, right?
No, negative 5 is the y-intercept.
It'd be negative 1.
Okay. So what's the slope of the perpendicular?
1.
Okay. Use Pointslope. Give me the general format and then plug everything in.
So y minus 3 equals 1 times x minus 7.
You're done. Problem solved. Now, just for the heck of it, let's do it the other way, where we start, instead of the general of that, we start with this. I want you to be able to do both methods, because the directions could call for one or the other. So if I'm doing it this way, I know the slope, so all I've got to do is solve for b. How do I solve for b?
So it would be b equals y minus x.
Okay. It doesn't tell me how to solve for b.
Minus x.
Well, you're right. Y minus x equals b, but I need a number. I need a number for b because I'm going to plug in the m that I know and the b that I solve for into that right there. So what's y and what's x?
So y is 3 and x is 7.
That's equal to b. So b equals minus 4. Now what's my original, what's my equation going to be? I know what m is, I know what b is. That's all I need.
Y equals 1 minus 4.
No, y equals
1x.
X minus 4.
Minus 4.
In other words, your final equation has to have a y and an x in it. Okay? And if, okay, look at this one, the point-slope method. Move the 3 over, you get y equal x minus 4. Just you don't always need to do that fourth step. In other words, most of the time, if you have a proper math teacher and they are teaching you point-slope method, then they should accept a point-slope answer. And this is the point-slope answer, not this. That's why that's the slope-intercept answer. The point-slope answer is y minus 3 equals x minus 7. Okay? All right. Let me close that out. Scroll down. Minimize it just a hair. I guess I can read that. Hold on. Ah, that's better. That's perfect, in fact. Okay. Turn this on. What's the slope of this equation? In other words, what's m?
Oh, m would
By now you should realize that you don't actually have to solve this for y. Because all you got to do is, in other words, that minus 21 doesn't have anything to do with what m is. So all you got to do is get the 5x on the other side, divide by 3, that's your new slope. Or that's the slope of this.
would be 5 over 3.
Negative 5 over 3.
Negative 5.
It's important. You can't drop a negative sign. So what's the slope of the perpendicular?
It's 3 over 5.
And starting with Pointslope, let's figure out the equation that has the slope of the perpendicular is m, and the 2 points are x sub 1 and y sub 1. Or the point, excuse me, the single point is x sub 1, y sub 1. So fill everything in. What do we got? Starting from here.
Okay, alright, sorry. Okay. So 1 minus, y minus 1.
Okay, there you go. When the y doesn't have a subscript, you don't fill in. That's not the point. The point is y sub 1. That's 1, okay, equals what?
3 over 5. Negative 5.
What goes inside the parentheses?
Or x minus, x plus 5, I guess.
That's your answer. That's the final answer, one step. No. The other step, if we're going to put it into slope-intercept format, that's at least 3 steps.
Okay.
Because you have to solve for b. We don't have to solve for b here. We just took all 3 pieces of information we had and plugged it into Pointslope. Furthermore, when you get to calculus, it's 100% Pointslope. They don't use slope-intercept anymore. Because in calculus, the 2 things you always have are slope and point. You usually slope as first derivative, so you have that, and the point, you're given a point that it passes through. So you usually have slope and a point. So they're going to always use point-slope format. All right. 9 o'clock, you want to call it a night?
Sure.
Okay. Let's see, we have a session tomorrow night, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, we do. It is tomorrow night. I will talk to you tomorrow night, Blake.
Thank you.
You're welcome.